You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and on today's episode, I'm super excited to be joined by vocalist, arranger, producer, and musical director, Joe Ringer. Joe, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hello, man. How's it going?
Yeah, good, man. I'm super looking forward to this one. So Joe is the founder and MD of Juke showband, which is a very slick and very professional, I'd say, luxury showband, which have recently rebranded. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. A bit later in the episode. But first things first, I always like to start off by learning a little bit more about you, your backstory, and kind of the journey that's brought you to where you are now.
Well, hi guys, and nice to meet you, Jack. So I started my, singing career, which is, I guess, when it started. I started singing, doing just shows and Amjam when I was younger, when I was a teenager. And I think the first ever sort of gig I had was with a big band in Norwich. And it just so happened, as it always does, one of the guys who ran the big band played in the band for one of the shows. They were like, we need a singer for a gig. And he asked me to come along, and I did it. And then from there, as is with the industry, I met someone else who asked me to do this and asked me to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then before you know it, I was doing, but I always started in swing and jazz stuff. That was sort of my jam back in the day. And I still do a little bit, but not very much. And then the guy who ran the big band also ran a function band. And so I did a few of those, and it went from there. And all of this, while I had a full-time sort of normal person job as a graphic designer, and I did that for 8 years, I think, out of art school. And I was just doing this alongside, and I was doing the old gig and bits and pieces, and I was sort of doing more and more. And I was always really interested in the sort of behind the scenes, how it was run, all those sort of things. And I think I came to a stage where I was like, I'd quite like to do it myself and see how it goes. And I didn't understand any music. I never had any training or anything like that. So I decided to get a group of sort of maybe half friends, half musicians that I knew together. And this was in 2012. So we're talking 13 years ago now. And we got together and we did some busking in the city in Norwich. We then did a few sort of pub gigs, and it sort of went from there. And sort of we got more of a name, became more successful. We went into more the sort of weddings and events. And obviously my background in graphic design helped, the marketing side of things. And then we got to a point, I remember, where we were getting really busy, and I went to my boss and I was like, I sort of need to go part-time. And he was like, yeah, that's great, which is amazing. So I went down to 3 days a week and ran the band. And then we got to a stage, and I remember saying to myself, if we get 50 gigs a year, 50 events a year, I can, quit the job. And we did. So, we got to a stage and I quit the job, and that was 10 years ago now. Yeah. So we have been going for 10 years, and we're still going. We play maybe 100 events a year, events and shows and gigs a year, sort of split across weddings, functions, the odd theatre show, maybe a little festival bit, the odd cruise as well, odd bits and pieces. But that's what we do, and a few different variety of things, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But that's where we are now. We're sort of, it's still going really well. Randomly, we're still, apart from one person, the same group of players for the last
it's always interesting to find with bands like that have been going a long time and the same members and stuff. It's always really nice.
And it's
good
great.
Friendship between everyone.
And I think I took the decision early on to sort of learn the music side of things. So I sort of self-taught myself all that side of things, and I self-taught myself to arrange as well, which I think for me has been a really important part of it. So now every time we do a new tune, I'll write it out, and I'll send it across to the guys to learn. And I just think having that dynamic is really important. Not control, because it's not, but being able to speak the same language as the guys as well.
Yeah.
Having, one person say this is how the arrangement's going to look, etc., etc. Obviously, once we get to the gigs, we're not going to be reading it, but just to have that, and especially for like requests and first dance, it's a really important skill to have. So yeah, that's what I feel is for me one of the most important things I've done in the industry, and what a lot of people don't do, especially singers or vocalists. A lot of singers will go, oh yeah, go on, let's just go from this bit, here we go. Whereas I can say, this bit, I can say it with a little bit of musical knowledge that I can speak to the guys, and I think that's great. And that's one of the reasons why we've been going for so long, because I feel I'm on the same page as them. I understand, I can empathize with what they want to see in front of them, they want to experience from a musical point of view. And I think that's really important. And we've obviously become really good friends over the time, and we're all not too far away from each other. But equally, like, we also, as is with the industry, we also use guys from all across the country, for various bits and pieces, whether it's the normal band, the Ibiza Orchestra, when there's obviously a lot more of us. So, it's become a bit of a family. We've got, especially over the last 10 years, garnered a big group of sort of trusted guys.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah. So, the sort of general function band isn't just what you do. You do lots of different shows with the same people, or was that different groups of people?
A lot of time it's
I've seen you do like a Bond show as well, and you just said the Ibiza one. Yeah,
so same mix of people. So that's sort of a bit of a creative outlet for me. Like, as I said to you earlier when we were chatting before we pressed record, the main band, the party band, the show band is, sort of the bread and butter. That's what we do. Basically, that's the day job, if you want to call it that. And then, I think as a creative outlet for me, we do other shows. So we've got a Bond show, which is like an 8-piece band thing. We've got a disco show. We've got a Burt Bacharach songbook one we do, which is my favourite. We've got an Ibiza Orchestra, which goes from 20 up to, however many people you want. We've done it with sort of over 30, which is great. We do a wandering trio as well. So we've got loads of different bits and pieces. And for me, that's my sort of creative outlet. We don't do loads of them, and that's probably down to me not having the sort of wherewithal to push them and market them.
That's a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, it's not the hours in the day, really.
Yeah.
But at the moment anyway. But that's something that I really love to do, and I enjoy creating them from the start, creating the concept of the show. I enjoy doing the arranging for the band. I enjoy doing the tracks. The graphic design side of things, obviously, it's a nice skill to have, so I can do all the marketing, the posters, social media. So I'm sort of a one-stop shop, jack of all trades. Not particularly good at anything, but quite good at most things. So that's sort of, I'm not sure if that's a positive or not, but
no, I think so, man. Like it's interesting as well. We were chatting just before we hit record about the fact that you come from a graphic design background and maybe not like a schooled musical background, and how that's a real positive in the fact that you can see where the band needs to go in a marketing direction rather than just like the musical side of things.
Yeah, I think coming from that background or that industry, so I worked in sort of publishing, it helps you to understand things from the public's point of view, which I think a lot of bands don't. A lot are started by musicians, are run by musicians, and for them it's all about the music. Whereas my first thought is always, the client at the end of the day, what we're giving them. And, if we have to play the same song, as long as it's not Sweet Caroline, because I refuse to play that. But if we do have to play a song that we don't love, but they love, we'll do it. Because at the end of the day, we're supplying them with a product that they're paying for. We want to give them the best thing, And I think that's really important. That's where I think a lot of bands maybe do fall by just not thinking of what they're pitching themselves to. And even like with promotional videos, and when we did our recent promotional video, I spent so long putting together what songs I wanted there, a good mix of what represents us, but also what people want to hear from us, what gives people the best view of us in a 2-minute video. I worked out the best way to medley them together, the best way to segue between the tunes as well, and make it concise, make it look good as well. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think of. They'll put a promo video out with like a 2-minute clip of one song, and nowadays, especially, we're living in such an immediate society that people want that, their gratification straight away. So if you haven't caught them in the next 5 seconds, they're scrolling on, they're moving on to the next thing. So I think it's just understanding how people work. People getting married a lot younger than me now, which sounds weird, and because I'm 40, so people getting married are in their late 20s nowadays. So mid late 20s, a lot of some people. So you have to think, what do they want to see? What do they love? And that's important. And music's weird nowadays, because I don't know if you've noticed the same thing, maybe, but you don't get many new hits.
Yeah.
There's
not many. When I do a lot of show reels and stuff, so I see a lot of people coming in with songs. They're still picking older songs. They're not picking current songs. There's maybe the odd few, but generally,
I think you don't get a song like back in the day. You'd have a song and everyone would know. Brian in 91, Brian Adams was number one for 16 weeks, and everyone in the whole country knew that song like the back of their hand. But you don't really get tunes like that nowadays. Even the biggest artists in the world, like Ed Sheeran, their new tunes aren't known to everyone. It's not the same global thing it used to be. So it's sometimes hard from that point of view to add, new things. So it's actually understanding that a lot of the time people of a certain age or a younger age still love the tunes that, that we love, and classics, the likes of sort of September and, all those kind of tunes. Like they're the kind of tunes that people dance to. So just understanding how the industry works, how people's, psyche works, what they want from their big day, the stuff they want to hear as well. And that's sort of quite an important thing, I think, especially from a marketing point of view. I get the question asked a lot, like, what songs should I put in my show reel? And I guess the answer is kind of always the same. It's really good. I think you touched on this earlier. It's really good to show a bit of your personality and songs that you like playing, but also a little bit of like what people kind of want and expect to hear. And a mixture of that is, I think, like a good recipe for it. Yeah, it's always finding that good balance. And we're the same in the set list. Like, I think the problem with the industry is there is a very sort of it's a weird industry in that there are a lot of bands who will go out with random musicians and just play a standard set list of songs that every band knows, be it your Sweet Carolines, Ain't Nobodies, Mustang Sallies, and all that sort of stuff. And that is a thing in the industry. Now, you need a few tunes, that are sort of classic bangers. You want to end the night on Mr. Brightside because everyone will love it. And although you've played it 1,000 times before, people haven't danced to it 1,000 times before with the band. So, but I think we try to strike a good balance between being cool and sort of more musically interesting, I'd say. Not sort of wanky, but musically interesting. And the way we craft the songs together as well, a lot of them sort of segue from one to the other as well. But also every song in there, people will know, people will be able to dance, people will be able to sing along to, and they're sort of, the set list is put together in a way to, for the peaks and troughs of the evening are quite important to us. It's not just randomly, chucked together. We try and think of those things, rather than just chucking a load of party hits together. Yeah. So I just want to go back and talk about like sort of the different acts that you've got again, and like, so is that a challenge to market them differently? And do you use any agencies to do that as well, just to make it a bit easier for you, or is it all on you? Well, with the main band, it's all on me. Like we get the odd agency, but we don't depend on it a lot. So I'd say maybe out of 100 gigs a year, maybe 5 will come through an agent. Yeah. The rest is all direct to person. That's really important, I think, especially because we're based in Norfolk in East Anglia, and there's so many amazing venues around here, but not loads of bands. So to have that sort of that local, prestige, I don't know how you want to call it, it's really nice. We're really lucky in that sense. It gives us a bit of gravitas. We can speak to the clients, we can meet the clients if we want to. So from that point of view, we're mostly directly to us. And with the other acts, to be honest, there's something that I need to start pushing, but something to this stage I haven't. There's something I put together, like for example, the Ibiza Orchestra. I wrote all the arrangements during lockdown. Yeah. as sort of something to do. And then, we decided to throw a gig when we came out of lockdown. And then we maybe do 2 or 3 a year. But it's nothing that I've really, and to be honest, they're great. Like, people love it. All the musicians love it. The audiences love it. It's a great show. Like, but it's something that I really need to sort of, and we've got a great promo, to be honest, as well. But it's something I just need to start, contacting the agents, the party planners and all this sort of stuff and going, here's what we've got. And that is something to do down the line. But I think for me, I was speaking to my fiance about this the other day. Like, I'm coming to a point where I know that I haven't got a pension. I'm getting to a stage where I know the business needs to be like, rather than just me running a band from my house. Yeah, I feel it needs to evolve into a business, and it's got all the ingredients there to do that. But it's whether I'm at a stage where I'm like, right, I know this is going to be a proper job, and I need to set it up as such. It's a big leap from where I am at the minute, where, I run the business. I've got one person who works for me 3 mornings a week, just doing the admin side of things. Yeah. And that's it. I do everything else. So it's whether I want to take that leap into, right, this is a proper job. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm not in, I want to get to a stage where I'm not singing all the time, and in some of the things I don't sing myself, which is nice. But yeah, getting to a stage where it's like a business. We're sort of not an agency. I don't know if you want to call it that, but all the acts we'll have created ourselves. Yeah. And I think that's where we're going, down the line. That's part we'll talk about later, the rebrand. That's part of why we've got to that stage, because that's what I want us to become. We'll become sort of maybe a boutique agency, if you want to call it that, where we create acts and then we market them ourselves. And that's where, like, I guess with what you do is, like, I feel one of our good strength is, I've got a good idea of what, promotional material, websites, design stuff should look like. We've got a great team of, like, videographers, sound guys, graphic designers and all that sort of stuff. And so that's where, we want to get to down the line. And that's where we thought, that maybe over the next 3 years, that's where we're sort of looking at.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start getting to sort of, like, I'm 36, so I'm just a tiny bit younger than you, but get to that stage where, like, okay, so what do I want to do with this business? Do I want to just work in it until I'm 60 and then what? I don't know. Or do I have to try and build something you can either sell or run with you without you kind of thing? And that's kind of where I'm at in mine as well. And just trying to make those decisions is tough.
Yeah, and I'm at a stage where I've got quite, like, a nice life. Like, I work hard, but I more work hard when I need to. So I'm the kind of person who will absolutely cram it for, 4 or 5 days. And then I'll take a few days more relaxed. Obviously, I have the gigs in the evening, but generally daytimes are my own to work or do with what I please. And I quite like that sort of, that bit of freedom. If I want to go out, if I want to go for lunch, or if I want to go for coffee, I can. But then I'll cram it when I need to. Whereas I know that once I do it, I want to do it properly, and it will become much more of an all-encompassing, like, as I say, like a real job. So but it's when I'm prepared to change that lifestyle. And I'm getting married next year, and my partner, she currently tours in musical theatre shows, so she's always away, so it allows me to be a bit freer. But I think, we're looking at maybe in a couple of years sort of settling down more, and that'll probably be the thing that starts off that next step. And as I say, like, and also I'm well aware that, I mean, I don't think I look terrible for my age, but I don't want to be like a 55, 60-year-old man singing at a 25-year-old's wedding. You know what I mean? I feel that's a little bit cringe, maybe, especially doing the sort of up-tempo party stuff. It's different if you're doing swing and jazz and stuff. But I think you've got to be very realistic about what you are, what your ability is, what your look, how you come across, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm always
who you're aiming towards as well.
And also, I enjoy the behind-the-scenes stuff as much. Like with the Ibiza Orchestra, I conduct and I do sing a few tunes, but I love that side of things. I've MD'd some pantos. Like, I love the behind-the-scenes thing as much as I love the performing things. I get just as much out of it as I do performing myself. So I think that's probably the route that I'll go down over the next few years.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So let's get on to sort of the rebranding stuff, man. So I was following you for a little while, and I saw you posted a video just sort of explaining the whole rebrand thing, and I thought, Joe, that's going to make a really interesting episode because I mean, I've thought about rebranding before, and it terrifies me. It's like it sounds like such a big job. Am I going to lose clients? Like, what am I actually going to change it to? Because when you start a business, I mean, this is talk about myself anyway. You come up with a name. It's like, it's all right. It does the job. It'll do. Come up with a logo again. It's all right. And so, yeah, the rebranding is always kind of in the back of your head. And as that business changes and stuff like that, you want maybe something that suits it a bit better. But yeah, anyway, I thought I'd love to know a bit more about sort of the decision behind it, and then about the process maybe as well. And again, and possibly the outcome if you've got any sort of feedback on that yet, or if it's a bit too soon.
Yeah, well, I think obviously we started out, and I think actually the trend at the time, especially locally, was if you're going to start a band, put your name on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was quite naive. I wasn't experienced. I didn't really know what I was doing back in the day. So I was like, that's simple. I don't have to think of anything else. And obviously we got to a stage where we became quite successful. So your name then becomes synonymous with the band.
Yeah.
And we were the Joe Ringer band, and it was quite well known across there. So you run with it. And then we got to a stage where, because we were doing more and more different things, and I wasn't personally on everything, I was like, okay, I want to move any confusion, in that I will be personally on everything. So we sort of did maybe a soft rebrand, if you want to call it, to the JRB, and that was the thing. So you still kept the components of the name, but it wasn't quite so personal, wasn't quite. And obviously when we used to do pubs and stuff, and now we're moving on to sort of higher tier things. And that was back in 2017, so by me, 7 years ago now. And we've been going since then, and I think I got to a stage, and I've looked at it, and especially as I'm now okay, like I was speaking to you earlier, I know that moving forward, I want to make it more of sort of an agency kind of feel, where we create acts, we run acts. I think that's where our strength really lies. Mm-hmm. And I was thought, what does it actually, the JRB actually mean, especially on maybe a more national level for people who don't know me or what we do? I guess I'm reasonably well known locally in the area, but that doesn't mean anything when you're going further afield, when you're pitching to clients, in London, in the Midlands and stuff like that. And I was like, it doesn't feel like it's a very strong brand. Also, yeah, especially if I'm not going to be on everything, what does it really mean? It doesn't have any strength. Yeah. So I've been thinking about it for a while, but I'm very much a quick actor. So I think a few months back, I messaged my other half, and I was like, I think I'm going to rebrand the band. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. And it's scary because you do worry, you've garnered a great following for a while. It's under your own name. And the thing is, I'm not like an ego-y kind of performer. Yeah. Maybe that's not what someone with an ego would say. But I'm not as I say, I'd as happily be behind the scenes as in front of the scenes. And I feel as a performer, as a singer, I've sort of taught myself to be a front man rather than it being a real natural thing for me. Yeah. So actually, when people are like, "What's your band called?" I sometimes cringe when I say my own name. I don't love it really, and I never have. It's just been one of those things that's sort of grown with us. So, I was like, okay, we're going to do it, and it just came to me once. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because we play the song Sir Juke a lot, as in Duke, and I was like, Juke. Oh, that's quite a cool name, as in Juke. And as with everything nowadays, you have to look and see if there's anything that's already called that. And as always, there's always the odd sort of thing slightly linked to music. But there was no other thing that we do called that. And I was like, okay, that's great. That's actually quite cool. It's short, it's concise. It it sort of does what it says on the tin, I feel. It's quite global in that it can sort of mean anything. So it can encompass the whole agency when we go down that route, rather than it just being one band. Yeah. It isn't a specific name to anything. And that's where we got to. So it was about a month ago now. We took the plunge and we did it. And I think one important thing to do was for me to be front facing and make a big fuss of it over the socials, however much I hate recording myself for that. Because I think people sort of needed to know. And obviously the fear in that is that you lose people who know you already. You lose the people who have supported you because they're like, oh, the band's doesn't exist anymore. When I Google it, it's not there. And you also lose the people who are like, oh, you should book the JRB, the Joe Ringer Band for your wedding. They're amazing. And then it turns out they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But actually nowadays with things how they are, you know, Google's got a tool for when you switch over, which allows you to keep a lot of your SEO metrics and stuff like that. As long as you put things on the website, you know, we put formally the JRB, the Joe Ringer Band, etc. You know, so just to make it obvious, you know, I think you sometimes have to remember how uninformed about the industry and how about bands Joe Public generally are, and always underestimate people because you can never give them too much information. Don't assume people know stuff. Yeah. So I think. And it's still scary, and there's been a few people like, I don't like the name change, but I think generally old people don't like, they just don't like change, do they? Like, which is fine, but I know that for us, you know, especially me to sort of future-proof, you know, myself and the business and stuff, that's the road we need to go down, and that's where we are now. And it's been cool. Like, it's been met. A lot of people have really liked the name. You know, I sort of explained to them, look, the product's going to be the same, if not better. It allows us to do so much more, you know, with it. And yeah, it's a different name, but it doesn't actually matter. Like, you're going to get the same thing, but it's just going to allow us to grow, you know, in a way that with that really personal name that we wouldn't have been able to before.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I learned quite early on in my previous business, which was a recording studio. But you can either go down the route of your name being the brand or something completely different. But it does tie you into, people expect you to be there all the time on jobs when it's your name. And so I kind of knew in the back of my head, I don't think that I want that forever. So that's why I decided to go with like a business name rather than my name. Because especially a lot of videographers do their own names. But
yeah, well, I think if it's different in some. So if you're a videographer and a photographer and someone books you, they're obviously booking just you for your talent, for your, you know, thing like that. Whereas with us, like, you know, we've been using loads of different guys for so many years, and we play the same music. The quality's just as good. There's never a worry on that. But obviously some people are like, you know, well, I've booked you know what I mean? So it's even though, but I'm like, you haven't, you booked the JRB, you booked the band. But so it actually just takes that whole thing out of the equation. And that's just the industry. Like, you know, we do have a sort of standard lineup of the guys. I say I've been together for ages, but because of how it is, people are always off doing other gigs on other tours, doing other shows. Yeah. So we use, you know, maybe 50 musicians across the year, you know, who come in from locally or from London, who know the set, as I say. And one of the important things for me is because I write everything out, you know, you can get a drummer come in and you can give them the parts and you know it's going to be nailed if you got the right drummer anyway. Yeah. You know? Whereas a lot of bands will get someone in and they have to learn the music, you know, sit there for hours and learn it. And a lot of the time they won't learn it properly. Like, so, you know, I'm always confident that, you know, whatever acts we're putting out, whoever we're putting out, the quality will always be the same. Like we had, you know, 3 bands out this Saturday, you know, and amazing responses from all of them. You know, I've literally messaged, I got one this morning from the groom of one of them was like, you guys are absolutely incredible. And I love that as more than I love that, the ones I'm on that people like. It was just like, I've put this together, I've created it. These guys, I've given them everything they need to. And as I say, and I think that's why we retain quite a good group of musicians who love working for us. Obviously, we pay quite well and there's lots of work, but also the fact that they'll get everything I always feel like I want to do as much work as I possibly can so they don't have to. Yeah. I'm happy to do all the behind the scenes. So for the first dancers, for example, we'll always do a first dance if people want one, but I'll always write it out, you know, whatever it is, you know. So we've had 3 this Saturday. I'll always write them out. I'll always send them to the guys. I'll always send them any notes, because rather than them sitting there writing them out or learning them, for me, I'm like, if I can do that and give you the wherewithal to make your job easier, and therefore it will make the end product much better. And also you'll be like, I love working for these guys because everything's done for me. I can just turn up and do my job, what I'm good at.
Yeah. So was that Juke going out 3 times? Do you say on one night or just the weekend? Or so that's interesting. That must be that's quite an achievement by itself, right? Getting one band 3 gigs and logistically,
it's quite. So we've done 3 bands. I won't do any more because I would never want to dilute the quality of who we've got. But I'm really lucky in that over the years, because you do get the odd drummer fill in. We've now got a really great dedicated team of musicians who play with us all the time. A lot of guys say if we're doing 100 gigs a year, some guys will play with us 20 times a year, and they know the set like the back of their hands. Great guys, great people as well. And that's what's important. Like, this might sound really bad, but it's not. Like, I would rather have someone who's, and you'll get this a lot in the industry, who's a really great musician, who'll look at the stuff, they'll learn it, they'll nail it, they'll be a great guy, they'll turn up on time, they'll look great, rather than someone who's a 10 out of 10, like amazing musician. He'll sort of turn up and be like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and sort of do a 70% job. And you get that quite a lot in the industry. I think some people sometimes feel it's a bit beneath them, and they'll turn up and they'll take the 250 quid and they'll take the money, but it'll very much be function, it's a bit below there. So it's knowing the people, knowing the personalities is also really, really important. You need a group of guys who will have a great time, not whinge. And I think that's really important for me with the guys who work with. And there's people who I've worked with who I say are amazing musicians, but I wouldn't want to work with again because of, attitudes and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you change anything sort of behind the scenes on the rebrand? In terms of like how the band looked or anything like on stage, or is it that kind of all stayed exactly the same?
No, we have. So we started, as you do on the pub scene, just sort of smart casual. Then we moved into events. I think the very, very much the theme of the time was like blacks when we started in the sort of naughty. So it was sort of like, and then a bit later on we moved into sort of more like folky dress, and that's where the theme was going. Everyone was going to time, but we do a lot of barn weddings, so a lot of greys, a lot of sort of tweedy, trying to be cool, trying to be a bit, quite current with it all. But there was no like uniform as such, and actually I found that quite hard to police because the problem is sometimes you just have to tell people what to do and what to wear. Because some people get it and some people just don't get it. So actually, with the rebrand, I've actually bought all of our guys some like quite cool jackets. So now we're all, which you'll see in the promo video, so we're now actually much more uniform, and that's sort of our next step. And like 5 years down the line, I imagine there'll be another change. But that's it. That's where I feel we are, and that's where the look is at the minute. And it's that balance between looking cool and comfortable, but we don't want to be too formal and too, in bow ties for everything. But also you want to look well turned out, but you don't want to look like you're trying to upstage people. And also we play a lot of different events. So one of the weddings, you don't always know what you're going to be faced with. You might turn up to a place which is called, a certain name, and you turn up and it's actually like a village hall. And they're paid the same as someone who's playing in a massive big old manor or a big marquee in a stately home, and you never quite know. So it's something that is suitable for all, purposes. And I feel that I'm really happy with where we are with that, like with the look side of things. Also, as I say, I've got someone who works for me 3 mornings a week, just handling the admin side of things. So we use a piece of software or a CRM website, a bit of software called Gigio. I don't know if you've heard of it, which is great. So that handles the booking process. It handles the booking of the musicians and handles all the invoicing and finance side of things as well. So that's really helped to streamline. A shout out to the guys at Gigio, because I think we've been with them pretty much from the beginning, from the early days. But it's only this year I feel we've started using them to their full capability. We've used them before for just the invoicing and booking side of things, but now we use it for booking the musicians. So as the process goes, we don't, but you can have one of their inquiry forms on your website, which means that everything from inquiry through to the final invoice goes through them. And it's a really good process. So then at the inquiry, you then send the client a booking form, they fill it out, they then get contract, they get an invoice for the deposit. Once that's all confirmed, the deposit is paid. You then book the musicians through the same system as well. The musicians get sent a contract, they okay it, so they're then booked on. Then closer to the time, you can send all the details out. You then send the final invoice out as well. So everything's all in one place. And that's, I think, obviously, technology is an amazing thing, but sometimes you find yourself skipping between emails and Dropbox and WhatsApp to find all the details for something, but to have it all in one place is really good. So to have a really strong sort of CRM piece of software like that really, really helps us.
Yeah. I've been on the journey of trying to find a good CRM for a while now, and I think I finally got around to it because mine is exactly that: Dropbox and Notion and WhatsApp and whatever. But
nothing's perfect.
No,
there's always some things that I'm like, it's not completely set up for someone who sends out a band with multiple musicians, different musicians, where if I say we use 50 people over the year, it's not really set up for that. It's more set up for an agency kind of thing where you're sending out acts, but actually you can adjust it and work it out for how it works for you. And it just makes life so much easier to have everything in one place, and you can just log into the website and see all the details, rather than, as you say, I'm looking at my spreadsheet that I've made for who's on what gig and who's doing this and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, awesome, man. So just before we move on from sort of the rebranding stuff, do you I think you've already kind of covered like the outcome, and it's just apart from a couple of old people saying they didn't like the name change, it's all been pretty positive, right? So do you have any sort of advice or tips for anyone that's thinking about maybe rebranding at a stage where they've already been around for quite a while?
Yeah, I would just say, just really before you do it, weigh out the pros and cons. And I spent ages doing it, and I decided it was the right thing to do, and I think it was. Don't do it just for the sake of it, just because you want a fresh look, because that's not always the best thing to do. And also just think about how you do it sensitively. Think about the audience and how they would want to receive that information. Like I said, for me, I went on personally and spoke through what it was going to be a month before we did it. I then kept posting in the run-up, so people were really, really aware it was happening. And then we did it. It wasn't a surprise to everyone. It just lets everyone know what's happening. They can get it in their psyche. There's something different. As I say, the big fear is you lose your custom from your original name, like if it doesn't exist. So also make sure you put things in place where you're still linkable from the old name to the new name. So on your website, like on the socials, we're, in the taglines, it's still formally the JRB, the Joe Ringer Band, so people have that link between the two. And I think that's really important. As I say, with everything, I do everything. I'm a very common sense led, logical person. So I'm trying to always think of things from all angles. And not everyone's like that, but that's how I try and operate. So just try and operate like that. Think, how are people going to want to digest this information, and try and do that in the best way possible to sort of protect yourself going forward. And it's great, like inquiries are as strong as ever. I'd maybe even say up from where they have been before, which is great. We're reaching, I've run some Google ads and stuff. We're reaching an audience a little bit further afield, which I think might be the goal. We're actually now booked on for a couple of wedding shows, which is something we've never done before. We've never had to do it, and we don't need to do it because we are sort of busy enough, if that is a thing. Yeah. But actually, I quite like the idea of sort of testing the water with it and seeing, what is out there. Because I think the thing is, being in the industry I'm in, I see all the time, what other bands and other performers do, the other events they do. And, a lot of them, especially the London-based ones, are doing these big glitzy events, and although I wouldn't want to do it all the time, it'd be nice to sort of be in the consideration for those things. And I've never pushed it before. So I think, to be up there doing those kind of things, and obviously you can then demand more money. It's a much bigger project. And I look at what we've got and I'm like, I know we're definitely good enough to do it. Yeah. But it's just, we've had this niche for so long, and it's a niche that allows us to, cut a nice life, a nice business. But I think that's part of, sort of where we want to go with the rebrand, to push to maybe, as well as our normal market, a slightly different market as well. So as I say, we're going to be hitting up the big London wedding show in October with that. And it will just be interesting to see sort of how it comes across. And it might not come to anything, but you've got to try these things. And I think you very much can't rest on your laurels. And you find that a lot on what we do, like, not in a catty way, but a lot of people do sort of copy us. Yeah. And I think that's just the industry, especially what it is nowadays. But you see a lot of things, you're like, well, that's we've just done that, or that's the same as ours and stuff like that. But I think that's just the world we live in. And I think if you can just continue to be the person who's pushing forward and trying to do new things, trying to, I don't know, push boundaries away, if we want to call it, trying to push forward rather than the person who's always on the tails trying to, copy what other people do. I think that's really important. That's what I want us to be able to do. I want us to, keep trying to do these new things. And actually, like, it's funny, I talk about the big sort of London events, the big glitzy events. You'll see videos of people doing in these massive white rooms at the Savoy and the Ritz and all this sort of thing. But actually, I know a lot of the guys who do them, and I speak to them, and I'm like, well, I did a wedding at a barn 30 minutes up the road, and I was home by 12, and they were like, well, I did that, and I had to be in there by 11 o'clock in the morning, and then couldn't clear out till 2 in the morning. I wasn't home till 5, and actually, they're quite jealous of what we do. So, we're quite lucky in that sense as well.
Yeah, that's it. You kind of got to try and build the life that you want out of this as well.
It's that life-work balance, especially when you get a bit older like I am. I'm not 25. I'm not going to be running around all the time, doing whatever. You get some people and I see them and they're jet-setting all over the place. They'll have a gig in London, next day they'll have a gig in, Marrakesh, and that's not really a lifestyle for me at my stage. Way too old for that.
Yeah, I don't like working past 9 o'clock at night now. So.
No, I get you.
This episode is brought to you by Acoustic Backs and Tracks, your go-to source for premium acoustic back and tracks that sound and feel like the real deal. Whether you're performing at weddings, recording content, or just practicing at home, it's like having a professional band right there with you. Their tracks are recorded by top session musicians with real instruments and real emotion. No lifeless MIDI here. Need something custom? They've got you covered. From key changes to mashups to exclusive tracks made just for you. Plus, their customer support is fast, friendly, and actually understands musicians. No task is too big for them. And here's the best part. Listeners of the Full-Time Function Musician podcast get 10% off their first order. Just head to acousticbacksandtracks.com and use the code FUNCTION10 at checkout. That's function all in capitals and 10 at the end, but you can find their website link and the code in the episode description. But yeah, I feel like that's quite a nice segue onto best gigs and worst gigs, which is just a time to share some of your favorite stories or something funny or something weird that's happened at a gig. So what have you got for us, man?
Well, overall, I feel we're quite lucky that we still enjoy all of our gigs, which is great. And I really mean it. Like, the guys up really look forward to it. Obviously, there's some which are better than others, be it maybe the sound or the crowd, or the venue. But generally, like 9 times out of 10, we have a great time. We play good music, I think, really well. Everything's really tight. We're really good friends. We have a good time. And we're really lucky to be able to do that for our job. So on the general, we love everything we do. Best gigs, we've done some really cool ones. One we did with the Ibiza Orchestra, we were in the middle of the desert in Marrakesh, booked for just like a millionaire's party. Like there was a coach driver who drove us into the desert and like half an hour into the desert through just like, and it was mental. And we definitely thought we were all going to get like sex trafficked. Luckily we weren't. Luckily for sex traffickers probably. But we ended up in the middle of the desert with the 30-piece Ibiza Orchestra playing for like 50 people.
Yeah, nice.
So there's really odd ones like that. We've done some sort of destination weddings, some really cool bits and pieces. But as I say, on a whole, we're lucky in the sense that we really love what we do. And a lot of bands don't. A lot of bands do it to pay the bills, as I say, especially that old school feeling of a lot of guys turn up or function gig. They feel like it's a bit beneath them. But no, like our guys love it. We're always adding new tunes to the set. We're always trying to get better, get slicker. And I love that side of thing. Worst gigs, like, I'm trying to think of any bad stories, like the ones where we don't get fed.
That comes up a lot, actually.
Yeah. Ones where we get like the tiniest chip cone you've ever seen in your life. I feel we're quite lucky in that sense that we can be a little bit picky about the gigs we do. We're very much so. We had to VAT register, So we took that decision, 6-7 years ago that these are our prices, these are our fees, and that's what we are. That's what we cost. And we feel we give good value for that. It allows me to pay the guys well. It allows me to take money that allows me to run the business full time. And actually what that does is, although we're probably the top end of bands around this area, definitely not further afield in London, they're a lot more expensive than we are, but in this area, we're probably at the top end of what we charge. Actually, it gives you some gravitas in that I think people go, oh, this band are charging £2,000. You know, that it puts you on a level. And I think I'm very much like, that's a level I want to be at. I'm not interested in scrabbling around trying to beat people for prices and stuff like that. I know what we offer. I know it's still great value for money. Like sometimes I tell people further afield of London what we charge and they can't believe it, you know. So I think because of that, we sort of avoid the sort of grottier gigs. I see you always get the odd weird one. But yeah, I think on the whole, we're really lucky in that, you know, we haven't got too many sort of gig horror stories. You always have the one where, you know, like you turn up and then you don't end up starting until like 11:30 and you finish at 12 because everything's run on so long, or, you know, but generally we avoid the sort of the pubs. We never do anything like that. We avoid the big sort of like public gigs where, you know, people can get a bit rowdy and, you know, not so nice. You know, most of our stuff is cool. And like, you know, this over the last couple of weeks, weirdly, we've done 2 Ibiza orchestra gigs at 2 sort of like festivals in, I guess what you call a West Midland, East Midlands, sort of Cambridge sort of area. We've done 2 completely separate festivals, both playing to 1,000 people in these really cool venues on these really cool stages. And they've been absolutely amazing. Like, and then we've done so in 1 week we did an Ibiza orchestra gig, we did a Bond show, we did 2 weddings, and we did a duo gig. So that variety is great. And I love that. Like, I think I'm very much the kind of person who would get bored if I was doing the same thing all the time. So for me, that's brilliant.
Yeah. You mentioned going VAT registered there. Was that process a pain in the ass, or because I think a lot of people are a bit worried about doing that just because of the process?
Yeah, it's not for someone like a company like us who is, we're always selling to the public. You know, 9 times out of 10, we're selling to the public. Yeah. Unless we're going through an agency, we're generally selling to the public. So it wouldn't matter for a lot of people, the VAT, because it can be written off. You know, but if I'm selling a wedding to, you know, Matt who lives in the next village, they're not going to be able to write off that VAT. So automatically it puts our prices up by 20%. And it is scary because that obviously puts us, you know, on a negative spin compared to a similar band. There could be another band who isn't VAT registered who charges exactly the same as us, but then we have to then put 20% on top, which I say if we're going out for £2,000, that adds another £400. So it's not a small amount of money, especially nowadays where money isn't as easy to come by. And I feel we're lucky as we're in an industry where people will pay for that one day. Do you know what I mean? People will go, okay, so one day I will pay out. But also people are being more frugal. You know, we have seen, although we're quite lucky, our work stayed quite the same, but a lot of people are saying that, you know, people are becoming more frugal with their money and they're not wanting to spend so much. And actually, weirdly, band prices, and musicians say this, a lot of musicians say, I get paid today the same as I got paid 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've had that.
Even though the cost of living has gone up, like by probably 100%, it's probably doubled. Actually, musicians were going out for these events and gigs for 250 quid, you know, 20 years ago, and they're still getting paid the same today. So, but I mean, for us, the VAT registry thing, it isn't great because we then made the decision, because you have to look at it and you go, okay, we're VAT registering. Do we absorb the whole lot?
Yeah.
Do we sort of split it, or do we put it all on the client? And although we don't put it all on the client, in a way we do, because we have to sort of go, okay, these are the margins we need to make. So I like to be open about stuff. So from a standard wedding, so if we charge, say, £2,000 plus VAT, you know, it's around 1,900 plus VAT for next year for the 6-piece band, which is our most popular one.
Yeah. For
a local wedding. We probably make £500-600 out of that. That's what the company takes out of that. Everything else goes to the guys. So they're getting like 200 quid each. Our sound engineer, you know, for a local one for just down the road for someone, the sound engineer is getting, you know, 400 and we're making 600, say. And that's sort of our standard model. So I have to look at it and go, okay, that's what we need to survive. You know, if we're saying our average is 90 gigs a year and each wedding is getting us, you know, £600, that's how much we need to earn a year. So I need to look at it like that and go, okay, the VAT on top, okay, we still need to make those margins. So how do we make that work? And then you have to approach it like that. So, a lot of it has been passed on to the client, but still I feel that we offer a good value because I feel we're, especially around here, the best at what we do. So it's I think if people want a premium product, they have to pay for it, but it's still not. I look at it and go, if I was getting married, which I am, and I wanted my whole evening entertainment covered for £2,000, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, especially when photographers, just one person is going out for 4, I'm thinking actually that's pretty good and people don't think you're paying 6 people plus a sound engineer to be there for, a 6-hour period. It's not, it's not actually a lot of money when it sort of breaks it all down.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and what I love about what you're saying is just the confidence that you have in your pricing as well. And I think that's where a lot of people just don't have that in themselves for what they're offering.
I think you have to. And I think obviously it's backed up for us, hopefully, by the standard we are. Like,
it comes with time as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I look at it and I look at, all the stuff that we put out there, the marketing, the socials. And like with regards to the socials, like, I don't like doing it, but I do it. It's me who runs it, and I'm quite on it. I think I'm quite on it, and I'm trying to put out good, varied content that is interactive, is interesting, but also gives a good view of what you're going to be booking. Like, I post loads of live videos, and I think that's really important. Like, you get a lot of bands who will have a promo, and it might be a good sounding promo, but live wise, they won't really post anything.
Yeah,
and that sort of rings a few warning bells with me, because why aren't you posting anything for what you actually sound like? And obviously it is usually because of a reason. So, and I think that's really important, people to see us in situ, people to see the reactions the crowds have to us. And it's great to have that original, that slick promo video that is the first thing that people see. But then I feel like people go on our Instagram and like, oh, that is actually what they look like and do, for actual weddings. It's not it's not some sort of ruse. You're not being trying to sell the product that isn't actually something that exists.
Yeah, I think like you got to choose the right shows to do that with as well. Like some bands that maybe aren't at your level yet, that are still doing some of the pub gigs and whatnot, but maybe choosing the right ones is important to what you're showing of the live stuff as well. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm so on that. So like, and so many people, bands and singers, post stuff, and I'm like, you're quite good. Why have you posted that? Because it's horrible. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm really like, I would never post anything that wasn't really good, didn't show us in the best light. But it's also obviously real as well. But I like the thing that you do is something that I would enjoy doing, or I enjoy doing, that thing of putting together, everything to put across a product in its very best light, whether it's, music selection, the audio mixing, the video, all those side of things. Like, so when we did our most recent promo video, obviously we booked the studio, Ruby Star Studio, the Jay, and it's a really cool space. But like right from it, I was on costuming, what we're going to wear. My other half was researching what the girls are going to wear. What, even down to like little like necktie things, for me is really important, like makeup. And then from the music side of things, so we recorded the audio separately, so I got the guys together, we found a really nice venue, recorded that, got a guy to record it, then got a separate guy to mix it. And, we did all that side of things as well. So it's just thinking of all the angles. What can you do to make this product the best it can be? And actually, there's loads of really good bands out there. There's a couple locally who don't have a promo video, like really anything decent or professional at all. And in my head, I'm thinking, in the day and age we live at, how are you expecting to get any work without that? And like what you do, I sort of feel I want to go to them and go, look, I'll pay me and I'll put you something together really good, because I know I sort of don't want to, because I don't want to, you don't want to be getting the work, but you know what I mean? Like, you want to be like, why are you doing that? Because I can see how you can do it so much better. Yeah. And I think maybe you have to have that mindset. You have to think a certain way, but yeah, I think that there's sort of a tick box exercise to everything that you need to have covered, everything you need to know. And obviously different people need to have different feels, and you might want a different venue or a different outfit or a different lighting for separate things. But yeah, it's all for me, it's quite common sense based. Yeah. Like, you just want to be able to be putting your best self in front of the client the first time they see you.
Yeah, it's scary though. I'm sure you very well know it. It's not cheap to do all of that, especially do it well.
No, I mean,
so it's quite scary. Like again, sorry, in my mouth. Hair in my mouth. It's you do, especially maybe if you're at the start of your sort of career or journey when you don't 100% know that this investment is going to work and whatnot. So I think there's cheaper ways to do it. You don't have to spend thousands on your first go. But I think again, it's coming back to that confidence where you know this is what this is gonna do and where it's gonna bring you money.
It's fun. So the most recent promo video we did, I reckon everything all in cost maybe like $5,000.
Yeah.
For everything, as I'm talking videographer, venue, photographer. So we obviously had a photographer as well, audio recording, paying for the guys' time. Like the guys aren't doing it. People think, the guys are doing it for free. No, they're not. I've had to pay them to do the recording and I had to pay to get them down to London to do the gig, costumes, makeup, etc., etc., etc. All mounts up. But I have to look at it and go, okay, that's £5,000. But I only need to get 8 gigs that we wouldn't have got without that promo to make it back.
Yeah.
And that's probably that promo is going to last us maybe 5 years before we have to do a new one. But it's always, it's one thing I'd say is if I could go back, there's so many times from the beginning that I did stuff cheaper that I would go back and go, okay, actually I'm going to spend on it and do it properly. Whether it's like when I used to do PA, when we started, so we always have a sound engineer on every gig, which I think is a funny thing, which I think is very important. And most bands nowadays don't. Like they'll turn up and do the sound themselves. I
have seen some bands do that well. I think if you've got like someone who actually understands what they're doing in the band, it can work well. But I know what you mean.
Sometimes, but it's just I feel that, especially when people are paying a good amount of money, you want someone at the front who can hear what it sounds like and adjust it, accordingly. So for all our events, we always have a dedicated sound engineer who brings all his own really good equipment. And for me, that's sort of a deal breaker, really. That's always been really important to me. As I say, I really want it to sound as good as it possibly can. But when we started, we did it ourselves because obviously you don't have the budget to pay someone £400 a gig, at least to do the sound for you. And so, but like you'd start by buying slightly cheaper equipment, and then over time you just realize that actually you need to buy the proper stuff that you can. And it's the same with anything else. Like if anyone was starting out a band now and they wanted to be serious, like they seriously wanted to do like what we do, I'd say, look, get a loan for £5,000 and do it properly, because it's going to pay itself off so quickly. It really, really will. The way you can do it nowadays, you can film an amazing video, stick some ads behind it, get yourself on social media, and you will get the gigs. Like you will get the gigs. They'll come. So, and £5,000, maybe that's a bit too much. So you don't have to spend that much, and you can do it, but just do things properly. Like, just don't scrimp on stuff, because it's going to show in the final product. And I'm not talking about spending life-changing amounts, but I'm talking about amounts that will pay themselves back quite quickly. I think people have that fear. And there's people who have come to me and gone, oh, can you help me do this? And I'm like, yeah, of course I can. Like, I've got some really good videographer and photographer guys, and they're like, I've got a budget of like £500. I'm like, well, you can't really then. You can't do anything with that. Like you're going to have to then ask favours. You're going to have to ask someone to borrow the venue, and you're going to have to ask your mate who's got a camera to do it. But as soon as you do that, the product quality sort of goes down.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes you can put in some quite good favors, especially like a lot of people with venues. I think that's a great one. Like a lot of I work with a lot of wedding singers and stuff, and weddings that
if you got
they're out a long time, they've got connections. That can work really well. So I mean, it's good advice to try and put in that network and those favors where you can as well.
I was sorry to say, like, if we were filming something locally, I think we would probably do that. You'd say to a wedding venue, do you mind doing it? But I think but also I think it's just my psyche. I hate calling in favors.
I
get to a stage. I think it's because maybe not being burnt in the past, but you ask people for sort of favors or like doing stuff on the cheap, and everything's always a lot more hassle.
Yeah, it takes more time. You feel like you can't ask for changes.
Yeah, I don't blame people, because you are sort of like, someone's doing your video for a couple of £100 because they're your mate, and you're like, and you feel, I can't really bother them. Like, I don't want to keep hassling them to do this, or like, well, I'll just leave it as it is because they've done enough changes. Whereas I'd rather go, okay, I'm going to pay you your normal fee, and I know exactly what I'm getting, from that point of view. So I think there's both sides of it actually there.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've probably answered a few of those questions in just then, but let's get on to the quick fire round. And let's start with, what's the most effective thing that you've done to market yourself or your business?
I think having a strong social media presence, and however much I hate it, having a personal, strong social media presence as well. Like, having a face for the company is important, because people want to have that thing that they know you. Whether you're in the act or not, it doesn't matter. They want to know you, because then they can trust you, they can talk to you. And especially the older generation, because they do use social media. Like, they want to know that they're speaking to a person. And people who are booking for a wedding, they don't want you to be just a faceless corporation. Like, there's some bands who go around under a name and they haven't even got any people in the band. Like, there's a particular one, won't mention them, but they're literally a band, but all they are is a company. They're not a band, and they're calling themselves a band. And when you book them, they just have a list of guys, and they just go down the list, go, yeah, are you free? 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 And then they'll go out as that band. So like, it's quite a bit faceless and a bit sort of bleak for me. So I think having that personal touch is really important. It's served us well, So we've got quite lucky in the way that we've got quite a small niche locally, and we've sort of built out from that, even though we're doing more further afield now. But yeah, I'd say have a strong social media presence, have a front-facing, person who people can relate to, and obviously have great content as well. Think about the content, think about what people want to see. Yeah,
good stuff. What have you learned in the last 3 months that you wish you knew 3 years ago?
Oh, God. Well, I'm learning every day. I don't know in the last 3 months, but, since COVID, you realise sort of how fragile things are and how things can change. Like, for instance, for us during COVID, we had to take a full bounce back loan, like, still paying back the 50 grand that we had to borrow from the government, because we literally couldn't work. And it's sort of how things can go from, 100 bookings a year to none.
Yeah.
I think we did our last gig on March the 16th, 2020, and our next gig was May the 11th, 2021.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're missing out on it. And I think it's just, and this might be more of a life thing than anything else, but just making the most of everything you do and enjoying it, because everything is, quite fragile out there, and it can change very quickly. So yeah, just make sure you enjoy your work as well. Don't just do it because you feel you should, because you're earning a living out of it. Do what you enjoy. And I'm really lucky that, we do that. Like, we've got a gig tomorrow night, or Friday night, sorry. Our next one we're at a few times this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it, and that's, amazing to be able to do something you're looking forward to and you're earning money out of it. So yeah, that's just one thing I'd say. Like, I know it's a bit more broad than your question possibly, but
no, that's good stuff.
Just really enjoy what you do and make the most of it, because, things are fragile. We could be met, I don't think we will, but you could be met with another lockdown tomorrow and it'd be terrible. It's so just really enjoy what you're doing and don't take all this stuff for granted. Like especially people in my position, we're quite lucky to be able to do, it's not lucky, it's work, but we're quite lucky in a way to be able to do what we, love for a living.
Yeah, I mean, we choose this like sort of self-employed small business owner life for a reason, right? And it's to go in the direction that you want to do. Otherwise, it's just a job.
And like being self-employed, I often say to people, they're like, "You're so lucky," and I am. Like, I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't want to answer to anyone else again. I love being able to do what I want to do on my terms, and you have to have trust in your ability and trust in your judgment. But also, it's all encompassing. Like,
it's tough, yeah.
It never leaves you. Like, it's with you all the time. Like, your phone's never off, your WhatsApp's always going, it's emails are always going, and you can never escape it. Like, I'm rubbish at holidays.
Yeah.
I joke with my partner about it. I'm rubbish at holidays because I'm rubbish at not being there for the work sort of thing. So it has its pros and cons, much more pros than cons. But as I say, there is a negative part of self-employment as well.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Yeah, I'm quite lucky with my wife, as she's also self-employed as well. So we kind of get it together and we can like run ideas and stuff with each other. But with friends and family and stuff, they just don't understand like that it's more than a job. Like, so what is your biggest mistake that you've made in your business and what did you learn from it?
I haven't made any mistakes. No, I think for me, I don't think there's been a big mistake. Like I can't look at it and go, there's been a big mistake. I think maybe the thing that I tried to do to start with was trying to do everything myself.
Yeah.
I think because I'm a reasonably capable person, I've got a reasonably like wide skill set, like with regards to like the designing side of things. So you try to do everything yourself. And I always did that from the start. Obviously, it's cheaper as well because your own labor's free. But one thing I've learned, going through is to delegate. Like the video, for example, is key. I think back in the day, I would have tried to have done everything myself as much as I could. But actually with this one, I've got Pip who works for me, who's amazing. Like he's dealing with all the admin side of things. I got my partner. I said, look, I need some help with the costumes. Are you right to do that? And she was like, yeah, great. And she's amazing. Like she took care of that. So I didn't have to worry about it, and then putting out the music side of things as well. Before I'd have been really anal about that, but I was like, okay, I'm going to give it to someone I trust. And he did an amazing job on the audio with the video as well and all that side of things. And then it allows me to do what I do best. Yeah. So, not trying to micromanage but the hardest thing about it is finding people you trust to do stuff. And that only comes with time. And when you find those people, they're like absolute gold dust. So make sure you keep hold of them. But I think that's something I'd change is I wouldn't try to do everything myself like I did at the beginning, especially as well. And since I haven't been, everything's been much, much better and you have a much better quality of life as well. Yeah.
Do you find delegating quite easy? Because I know for me, I don't. I struggle with that.
I don't. Some things I do because there's people I trust to do things now, but it's because I feel like I know that if I do something, it'll be done properly and well. Yeah. So
that's the thing is that it's the struggle. Like other people don't care about your business as much as you care about it. Obviously.
Yeah, no, which is fine. Like it is, that's cool. Like why would they? Yeah. But it is quite difficult. But I think I'm getting better at it. Yeah. And I like it. Like I like the fact that I can give something to do and trust them to do it and listen, and I don't have to worry. I think that's a dream for all business owners and something that people maybe don't think of. Yeah. They think people are lucky to have a job, but no, sometimes you're lucky to have people. Yeah. Who you trust, and they're like, as I say, you want to keep hold of them forever.
Yeah, good stuff. Last question. Are there any specific tools or apps that you use to manage your business? I know you spoke about your CRM earlier.
Yeah, so the CRM Gigio is amazing. I would if anyone's running a band, probably I'd recommend that, or there might be similar ones out there now. I'm not quite sure. So that's the thing we use the most. We use WhatsApp a lot. So basically that's our sort of gig every time the gig comes up. So we now have a process, which is great. So everything's done on the CRM. And then the week before the booking, a WhatsApp for the gig gets created. All the musicians for that gig get brought into the WhatsApp. On that WhatsApp gets put the gig details, the set list, anything they need to know. Anyone can chat then about any questions they have as well. So putting in the process, everything. Dropbox is amazing for us because say I write and score everything out. So everything's in a folder. Everything that people could want is in a folder. They can access at any time. They can access recordings as well of our previous sets and stuff like that. So I'd say WhatsApp, Dropbox, Gigio software for us are the three most important. And for writing the music, Sibelius is what I use to do all the scoring as well. So.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Awesome. That pretty much brings us to an end. So cool. What have you got planned for the next sort of 6 months? Or?
So it's, as I say, we're booked up, which is great. We've got a few shows on. We do quite a lot around Christmas. We've got a Christmas show that's been running for 12 years now, which is always really successful. That sort of sells out quite a nice local theatre. We've got bits and pieces, as I say, with the band. I think for me, I want to start putting us out a bit further afield, like I said, to more agents and party planners, destination wedding guys. So I'm currently with a guy who I've actually trusted to do for the first time in my life. I've outsourced a bit of design work, which I've really struggled with, but he's amazing. So it's great. And we're putting together like an EPK, like kit that we can send out to agents, which has all the products we have in one place, all the different lineups, all the different shows, be the Bond one, the disco one. The plan is to get that out to the right because I feel we've got really good products, we've got really good promo, but if the right people don't see them, they're useless. So over the next however long, that's what we want to do. We want to get those out in front of the right people and hopefully start creating relationships, which will mean, we've got more work, more varied work, more fun work, and, we can, keep growing the company. And say we're going to be doing a few wedding shows further afield with a bit more sort of gravitas behind them. So that might change a few things as well. But yeah, I think it's just continuing the process to moving into the sort of the new brand really. And we'll make mistakes and we'll maybe find a few new directions while we're there as well. But that's cool. You just got to sort of roll with it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So if people wanted to connect with you or find a bit more out about Juke, where would you want to send them?
Yeah, so you can, obviously the website's there, which has got all our videos and pictures on, which is Juke Band. So that's JUKE, jukeband.co.uk. But the main place to find us is the social. So our Instagram is the one that I do the most, but our Facebook's quite busy as well. So they're both Juke Showband. So JUKE Showband. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. But the Instagram's great because I just try and put loads of material on there for people to just sit back and enjoy, like loads of live material. I try and be really active with the videos, active with the content, try and make it, cool, varied as well. So yeah, give us a follow on there. I'm on Instagram as Joe Ringer Music. If you're interested in seeing my boring life, you can do. Yeah, but yeah, generally give us a follow on there, see what we're up to. And there are, we do some public performances. So if you are reasonably local, come see us. We've got loads of cool stuff coming up at Christmas, and I think we're quite good. Maybe. Yeah. Who knows?
There you go. That's the tagline for the episode. Nice one, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No worries at all. Thanks, man.
So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. I just want to say a massive thank you to Joe for coming on and chatting to me. Make sure you go check out Juke on social media. I also just want to do a quick shout out for guests. If you have an interesting topic that you think we haven't covered on the podcast yet, or just some interesting stories, or someone that you think might be a great guest, please reach out to me on Instagram and we'll sort something out. All the links are in the episode description. Anyways, that's it for this one. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week for episode 7.